Good afternoon. This is Mayor Sean Patterson Howard. We are looking to bring this morning's Board of Estimates meeting back from recess. So I make a motion to reopen this morning's Board of Estimate meeting. Second. Roll call, please.
Roll call on the reopening of the meeting. Board of Estimate and Controller Reynolds, how say you?
I'm here.
Thank you. And Council President Griffith.
Here.
And Mayor Patterson Howard.
Here.
Hopefully resuming in the room here in conference room at 3:23.
So
Here, as a point of information, we have resumed that item number 2.
we are resuming at item number 2. So on December 29th, at the Board of Estimate meeting, I presented a draft estimate. The draft estimate that I presented at that time was just that, a draft, so that we could move the budget discussion forward. Over the past 3 weeks, I've continued to have conversations with each of our council members, whether in person or via phone or via Zoom on multiple occasions. As I stated back on December 29th, the budget that I was presenting, I had lots of concerns about it. There were revenue numbers that we had to push. There were still numbers around benefits and other things that we still had not received. And I asked for everyone's input. Since then, I have gotten input and feedback, like I said, from the council, and I got some updated numbers from the controller as well. With that, I am now presenting an updated budget estimate to the Board of Estimates, which I am presenting at this time, right now. So we have multiple things to consider. Mount Vernon, over the past, since 2006, has a $19 million devaluation of our assessed property value. Since 2006, we have experienced $19 million of devaluation of our assessed property taxes. From 2020 to 2021, we've experienced $2 million devaluation. Because of COVID-19 and its impact on the New York State budget, we have received a 20% reduction in state aid of about $2 million. We have received a reduction in $1 million in Con Ed franchise fees. Over the 2021 budget, we have seen over the 2020 budget, which the number in there was not accurate, or was it accurate in 2019? We received a $3.5 million increase in New York State health insurance program benefits. The actual increase from New York State health insurance program over the 2020 rate was only 2%, but we're seeing a $3.5 million increase being reflected because that number had been undercounted in years past. To that end, we are experiencing a great financial challenge, as I had discussed a few months ago. And I felt that we would have to either increase taxes by a double digit, or we would see deep layoffs or furloughs within the city. And that is exactly where we are right now. The budget that we are proposing today, we are proposing 2 different budget scenarios today. Each budget contains 33 positions being eliminated from the 2020 budget. These are positions that were vacant in 2020, and we have eliminated them for 2021. They include positions in police, fire, DPW, recreation, management service. They include elimination of positions from most of our departments. With that being said, we have two options moving forward to help us keep the tax rate down, as well as preserve crucial city services. The first option that I am putting forward is a furlough, a 15-day furlough of city staff from the mayor's office down to secretaries, from police, fire, DPW, and all departments, every department, every staff person throughout the city council, everyone receiving a 15-day furlough. The 15-day furlough will save the city $3,093,765. So the elimination of 33 positions and a 15-day furlough of every city employee, regardless of department, as well as an appropriated fund balance included in this budget of $2 million, will bring us to a tax rate of 3.21%. It is still a tax rate above 2%, but we are at a very critical financial crossroads here in our city, as are cities, towns, and villages across the country. I have joined with the United States Conference of Mayors, the New York Conference of Mayors, the African American Mayors Association, and the Women's Mayor Association, as well as the administrators from the National League of Cities, in advocating and lobbying the federal government for direct assistance to cities and communities. This is the only way that we are going to be able to avoid these type of financial cuts and challenges within our city. So we are doing that. We're not just sitting back. We do hope with the swearing in on today of a new administration that this conversation is much more viable. But at this time, one of our options is eliminating 33 positions, furloughing all of our staff for 15 days for $3,093,765 savings, including the appropriated fund balance of $2 million, and that will still bring us to a 3.21% increase. The second option that I am putting forward, and I know traditionally we do not provide two options, but this is not a traditional time, this is not a traditional year, and we are not in a traditional circumstance. The second option that I put forward is the same 33 positions being eliminated that are currently vacant. If the furlough is not accepted, which the furlough would have to be accepted by the unions because of collective bargaining rights, if those are not accepted, then we will have to take a different option. And that option would be the elimination of 60 positions in the city of Mount Vernon. That is above the 33 positions that we will not fund and not budget for because they are currently vacant. These positions, at this time, if this is an option, will include very deep cuts. We have about a $61 million payroll. 23 million of that is police, 16 million is fire, 10.5 million is DPW, and the last 11 million is the rest of the city. And so the cuts that you hear will be proportional because that is how our budget is laid out. We will experience an additional 15 position cuts in fire. We will experience an additional 23 positions eliminated in police. We will have positions eliminated, our senior planner. We will have positions in the Office of Aging. We will have an additional 9 positions eliminated in DPW, management services, an attorney, clerks, and mayoral office staff. That is if we to look at the option and are forced to the option of staff layoffs. Again, that would be a $2,842,753 savings. And then also adding in the fund balance of 2 million, we will still experience a tax increase of 3.63%. This budget also will require the city, which is held on to properties, commercial properties, residential properties, lots, vacant lots for far too long. The city of Mount Vernon is not a landlord. We are not a broker, and we should not be holding on to properties that can be sold and help us keep our tax rates down, reduce amounts of people that we would have to lay off or furloughs. These will also be critical in balancing the budget, but they will require the cooperation of the city council and the comptroller's office and working with our real estate committee. We have in the budget the sale of $2.3 million in commercial properties that the city currently owns, and that we have buyers for those properties. It also will include us doing an auction for residential properties and other smaller commercial properties that we own here in the city of Mount Vernon. We must, at this critical time and juncture, use every single tool that we have in our financial toolbox. We cannot sit around and have academic conversations. This is real boots to the ground and critical financial management and partnership that will have to happen. We cannot lay our financial shortfall just at the foot of our residential and our commercial taxpayers. It is something that all of us as stakeholders and the city of Mount Vernon must find a way to bear equally. And that is why we are asking for 2 million from our fund balance to be appropriated. We are putting in this budget the sale of city properties that have no municipal use to be returned to the tax rolls that can create housing and jobs. We are asking for either our staff and our unions to work with us to put across a 15-day furlough, which will allow us to keep everyone that is currently employed, but still save the city almost $3.1 million and continue to provide all of the critical services. And if that does not work, then the last and final option is, on top of 33 positions that we will not be funding that are vacant, eliminating at minimum 60 more. That would bring us to almost 100 positions eliminated. We have a workforce of 710 that were in the 2020 budget. So with the elimination of that number of staff at minimum, we're looking at almost a 15% reduction in city workforce. That is the last thing that we would want to do, because it would reduce our ability to provide the critical city services that our residents and our businesses and all of our stakeholders deserve. And so I am calling on the council, I am calling on our comptroller, I am calling on our staff across the city to all come together and work and identify the best combination of furloughs, cuts, elimination of vacant property, elimination of vacant positions, and sales of non-municipal needed city-owned properties, and the taxpayers, for us to all come together and bear this burden. If we are able to receive additional monies from the federal government or the state government, we might be able to minimize these. But as of today, those are not realities. And what we do know are realities are that revenues are sure, expenses are sure, and additional revenue coming from the state or the federal government right now is not. And so with that, I submit 2 options for a proposed 2021 budget. Again, the furlough option coming in with an increase in the tax rate of 3.21%, with the use of 2 million from the fund balance and $3.1 million in savings and salaries, or The layoff option coming in at an increased tax rate of 3.63%, with the elimination of at least 60 positions on top of 33 positions that we will not budget for that are vacant, and also with the use of a $2 million fund balance. We have not used fund balance in 2019 and 2020. And so, as I stated, we must use every option available to help make sure that Mount Vernon is financially stable and viable, and that we are able to provide the services to all of our stakeholders here in Mount Vernon. Thank you.
That's your motion, Madam?
Um,
For item number 2.
That is my motion.
Now seek a second.
So, on the question.
I'm sorry.
We haven't gotten to the question yet. We need a
So,
second.
Could you repeat your motion, please?
So my motion is that I'm putting forth at this time for us to move forward to a public hearing on January 28th, 2 budget options. The first being a furlough option with a budgeted tax increase of 3.21%, or a layoff option with a budgeted tax increase of 3.63%.
The motion is for the Board of Estimate to accept those 2.
Yes.
And then the second motion will be,
And we know that it's non-traditional to put forth 2 budget options, but we still have to work through furlough conversations with our unions. We've begun having those conversations.
do I have a second on the motion?
I'm going to second.
So on the question,
So on the question, Madam Mayor, you are correct. This is not traditional. Normally, what we have done in the past is we've accepted one budget, one percentage, and we've gone with that. So I question, when we do get to a point when we accept one of the 2 or a combination of the 2, does this body then have to go back and approve that to set the timeline for the following procedures that need to be had? Or, so let me ask the question again. Does this body have to reconvene when we get to a final tax levy increase percentage number? And does that start the shot clock? Because yes, we do need the discussions, and I'm willing to, and I think we need to have those discussions, and I'm willing to accept the dual budgets, but I'm just concerned about the processing and the procedures that we must follow as far as the hearings, et cetera. So
I would ask at this time that we would be able to accept both budgets to move forward and schedule the public hearing. And on Monday, I know we will be meeting with all 4 unions' general bodies for them, because it is a collective bargaining issue. The unions would either have to accept the furlough
forward, or we would have the only option is moving forward with the layoffs. If we agree non-traditionally, because this is all non-traditional, to accept and advance both of these at the time, should we be able to drop the layoffs, then we will just move forward for the public hearing with the furlough budget. One way or the other, on January 28th, we will only move forward with one budget. It will either be the furlough budget or it will be the layoff budget. And I'm asking that we may not have to come back. But if we agree to move forward on today, understanding that by the time we have the Board of Estimate hearing on January 28th, if we're able to accept these 2 going forward, that on January 28th, we will have resolved by then the question of furlough or the question of layoffs. It is critical that we move forward expeditiously. One of the challenges that we have now this year that we have not had in the future other than COVID, which makes this budget process very unique, is in the past, the city has had the benefit of collecting school taxes, and honestly, sometimes using school tax revenues to help float cash flow. We no longer collect the school district's taxes. And so we are operating in a much tighter cash position. And we must make sure that we move expeditiously but responsibly. Expeditious does not mean irresponsible. I can tell you we're here until midnight, 2, 3 in the morning, continuing to work through these budgeting issues as they are very complex and have so many different factors impacting them right now. So that is what we are asking.
So on the question?
Yes.
If the mayor's finished speaking?
Absolutely.
Okay. So on the question, I just want to start off by the last remark that the mayor made. I don't see myself up. Oh, yes, there I am. Because I'd like people to understand and see what it is that I'm going speaking. Right now, the mayor spoke of the city of Mount Vernon using school money. That is so untrue. We don't use school money. We actually pay the school warrant, money not received, usually April, May, or June of that year. So the city does not use school money to pay out bills. We pay the school. So the mayor is so incorrect in what she's saying. The school is actually paid, made whole, before we even collect their money from the taxpayers. So I just want to put that on the record, and I want everybody to know the truth of that matter. But I did want to talk about the mayor's, her overview of the 2021 annual estimate. I don't. Thank you, Commissioner. There's a delay.
Good to go.
Okay. So basically, as I was saying, we make the school system whole during the year. So monies that are uncollected from the taxpayer is paid by the city. So the school is made whole. We do not use the school money as the mayor has stated. That's untrue. But I wanted to talk about the overview that the mayor has here with her budget. I know there were changes from her 4.37% to her 1.21%. That I just
1.21,
excuse me,
3.21.
Thank you for correcting that. 3.21%. From 4.37% to the 3.21%, both I received this morning, one this afternoon. But basically, in her overview, she stated that, I didn't provide her documentation. Well, I did. I actually sent her documentation and she received, and she did put it in her second budget that I just received when I got here. So the actual overview that she put together for the annual estimate, saying that I didn't give her documentation was further from the truth. So I wanted to put that on the record as well. But I want to talk about what happened last year, because knowing what happened last year tells you what is happening currently. There were $30,000 to $50,000 raises last year during COVID given to employees. There were raises, promotions, new hires. So what do you think is going to happen when this happens? And during COVID, when there's no revenue coming in like 2019 and 2020. So, the transfer fund, okay, the mayor has in her overview something that's truly incorrect. HUD funds are money received from the state, sent to the bank accounts, to pay for services such as mental illness, homelessness, and other services paid by the state. These funds are never paid for by the Mount Vernon taxpayers and are not included in the city's operating budget. So that statement is false in the mayor's overview of the annual estimate. Also, the mayor in her report estimates $55 million in revenue in 2021. We're still in COVID. People are still not working. Companies are still not open. Do we honestly believe that during COVID, that's still here, that 55 million in revenue is going to come in? That's unrealistic. I just want to point out a few other things. The fund balance. So Mayor Patterson Howard provided taxpayers inaccurate information regarding the city's fund balance, and she's now trying to use $2 million of it. Well, the city of Mount Vernon has not been audited by our external auditors, O'Connor Davies, since 2015. They are now working on 2016, trying to get that finalized. So just waiting for the law department to give them more documents so they can complete that year, 2016. Once the 2016 financials are done, the external auditors will await the mayor to give the Urban Renewal Agency 2017, 18, 19, and 20 financial documents so that we can move forward in cities, those years for the city. So it's going to be a long period of time before the city obtains its credit rating back. I want to talk about the appropriations that she has in her overview of the 2021 annual estimate. So Mayor Patterson Howard, in this year, overtime was just ridiculous. There was a lot of overtime used. I mean, in a time where we were dealing with COVID, it just was reckless. It was reckless spending on behalf of the mayor and her departments to have that amount of overtime. And I will provide that number because I think it's abusive. But I will provide that information shortly. The employee benefits. The city of Mount Vernon has over 1,083 employees working for the city of Mount Vernon right now on the payroll. We have part-timers, we have full-timers, we have city council. I'm including everyone right now. And I provided the mayor information. And, it's just, we have all the employees working. We have all the employees getting paid. Did we in 2020 need to hire and give raises and promotions at a time where there wasn't money coming in like it normally did in 2019? That's not right. So I see that, the mayor has put forth two proposed budget summaries here today. I don't think any of the two are worth anything, but we need to get a budget adopted immediately. As I said, we are now currently working with the city reserves to make sure that payroll gets paid, the employees that work here. We need vital services for the residents that live here. So we're just making it, we're holding on, but a budget has to be passed. There has to be some type of change, and I'm glad that we finally came to the people to try to get something done. Is it good? Of course not, but we need to have the budget done immediately, as I stated before. We are using, reserves, and it should never be at that point, because what it does is it pushes Mount Vernon further into bankruptcy, and we don't want to do that. And we are not receiving the state funding like we should. Because of COVID as well, we're not going to get it probably in 2021 either. There's a lot of adjustments that need to be made on the state level, the federal level, and on the municipal level. So I'm hoping that the city council does give it to me. I gave her every document, every financial statement, every record that she needs to fulfill this document and move the budget forward with her city council. And I'm hoping that they rectify the issues, because as I said before, you can't possibly think there's a $2 million fund balance when the city has not been audited, like I said, since 2015. It's impossible. And if you want to sell the YMCA, that's an issue between the mayor and the city council. I always have agreed with Mayor Davis on that part, former Mayor Davis, that we purchased the YMCA for the children to use it. There's nothing for the children in Mount Vernon currently. Okay, we'll have Memorial Field shortly, and I'm glad about that. I was a main contributor to that. But what I'm saying is, we need to have some venues for our children. And the YMCA, I thought, would be a place, such as other council members that voted for it. But I'm hearing now that it needs to be sold. For what reason, I don't know. To what developer, I don't know. But we need to get revenues in the city. We need to stop giving $30,000 to $50,000 raises. We need to be conscious about our spending and stop being abusive about it. And I just wanted to put that on the record today, but thank you.
Thank you so much, Controller Reynolds, for your contribution. So, as I stated in the beginning, can you please feature me, Danny, Danny, can I please be featured? So as I stated in the beginning, on December 29th, when we had a Board of Estimate meeting, I presented the initial proposed annual estimate. This was received in the Controller's office, as shown by the timestamp here, on December 29th at 3:43 p.m. That is the Controller's stamp. The only person who stamps Controller's documents is the Controller's office. Her office received the first proposed annual estimate on December 29th, when I put it out. On January 6th, I wrote a letter to the council and the city controller saying, now that the budget, which I put out, the proposed annual estimate was put out on December 29th, had been out for a week. I asked for the controller and each of the council members to please weigh in on the proposed budget as they saw it and as it was laid out, and please to make any updates, any additions, any corrections, any criticisms, so that we could move this process along. Let me just make sure. On January 12th, I sent the controller a second request to please provide me, Malcolm sent it, to please provide me with information based on the December 29th proposed annual estimate that was provided to her office. And thank you, Controller Reynolds, because on January 12th, after the second attempt, you did reply on January 12th, and you gave me updated numbers for Kronos, Munis, health benefits, insurance premiums, and New York State retirement system. So I thank you. And I utilized each and every number that you provided me with.
I gave you the serial bonds too.
Yes, and the serial bonds, which actually were a little bit less than what we had budgeted for. So because they're paid and the interest dropped on the serial bonds, we were able to make those adjustments in the budget. So thank you very much.
Yeah, well, this was entire information I gave you, you just didn't see it. That's when I gave you the financials.
So, like I said, what is very interesting is, yes, we know that COVID happened in 2020. We know that people were laid off. We know that revenues in many places were down. We know that the school district started collecting their taxes for the second half of the year last year. Based on my conversations with the school district, whose taxes that they collect from residents and businesses are twice those of what residents and businesses pay for the city, in the period of COVID and in their June, July tax collections, as well as their so far January tax collections, they're collecting taxes above 97%. So it is just really confusing to me, while the same residents who would pay school district taxes and the same residents that would pay commercial and business taxes to the school district wouldn't pay them to the city. One of the challenges that we have had, some of the most frequent claims that we get from residents, businesses, co-op owners, and we've experienced ourselves, is that they have sent checks to the controller's office, to her PO box, which doesn't come here. She has her own PO box, so there's no interference with the collection of that they have not had their checks cashed. There are others who have come and tried, ma'am, I didn't interfere with you. We have co-ops who sent checks in line of 227,000 in July, and that check hasn't been cashed. The Mount Vernon School District paid their taxes to the city months ago in the amount of $482,000, which the school district has sent us correspondence saying that the comptroller refused.
Oh, please.
We
Stop
have
lying there,
building
Madison
department
Howard.
fees that were paid and brought down to the comptroller's office
Can you please
in
send me
excess
so
of
I can let you
$100,000, in excess of $100,000, in excess of ma'am, I didn't interrupt you when you were speaking.
talking to Mr. Terry.
No,
because
you
you're
are
lying on
being
me, and I don't like that.
disrespectful, and I didn't
That's
interrupt you when you were
disrespectful
lying
to
on
lie
me
based off
either.
stories.
So, again, like I said, the comptroller has continued to refuse revenues because all of these were part of her narrative of pushing down. I mean, she is strictly sabotaging the city.
Stop lying.
So,
You spent the $30,000 to $50,000 in raises. You caused this budget to increase.
one
This is your
person,
fault, and you
one
want to blame the
person in our
comptroller because
administration.
the mayor
So,
spends all the
with that,
money.
with that
So I'm
being
not gonna
said,
argue with you with your
with
recklessness
that
and
being
spending, but
said,
it has to stop, is
I
all I'm
am
saying.
asking if we can please go to
That's
a
all I'm
vote.
saying.
We have had the discussion.
And I see that
on
I
the
can't
question.
expand to the public
So
because
if
the
we
mayor is
can-
hogging the whole system.
If we can now go to the vote. I'm calling for the vote. So we're all there.
That's
You're
what she
on
does.
screen.
That's what she does.
Comptroller Reynolds, how say you on motion number 2?
Well, to tell you the truth, I don't know how to say on this because it's all lies, it's all rhetoric, it's all not factual information that's provided to the taxpayers.
How say you?
So what I'm gonna say is no, because it's not right. But we need to have a budget immediately, and we need to stop the reckless spending.
Thank you, ma'am.
The mayor has
Council
to stop
President Griffin,
today.
how say you?
Aye.
And Mayor Patton, how?
Aye.
Of course.
So we will accept this. This is not a budget that's being adopted at this time. This budget is just
not.
being moved forward to a Board of Estimate hearing, which will happen on January 28th at 7 p.m. in the City Council chambers. We will also provide a public Zoom link so that others can, you can come in through Zoom and you can also see it on Facebook Live. But-
Motion, ma'am?
That is my motion.
Do I have a second?
See what's happening with your budget
On
now.
motion number 3, for setting the date?
Yes, but I did have some requests.
Yes.
If I may. So we did receive, the original budget from the mayor back, for the better part of 3 weeks ago. The council, has been discussing with the mayor's office in regards to a number of the numbers, that were within the budget. We have collected, through the mayor's office, some figures that, were higher than we anticipated, which brought us to the point where the mayor had to submit, a revised budget. There are some figures that the council most definitely would like to be able to have in order to, continue our discussions. And most of those numbers need to come from the controller's office, so.
No, you already have all of my numbers, Marcus, you should know that. You were on the email. You have all of the numbers that I have given you.
So,
Those are the numbers that you have, and they're already in the budget, the second proposed budget that the mayor just gave today
so I
at
haven't,
3:00.
so I haven't requested them yet, so.
You're not requesting them. You're the city council. Stop putting forth defective legislation is what you should be doing. That's what you should be doing as a councilman. If you're not knowledgeable of what I've already given the mayor, you should not be talking, Marcus Griffin.
I beg your pardon.
Councilman. I provided everything that the mayor needed for this budget.
Okay.
So you cannot sit here talking about you're gonna ask for additional stuff. I gave you everything that you're supposed to have and you're required to have. So there's nothing else that's needed, and I know you don't understand that.
Okay, thank you so much,
Just
Comptroller
support,
Reynolds. So,
better
Council
legislation
President?
On behalf of the taxpayer.
Council President Griffith, do
You
you
can
have
call that
more information that you would like to request or share at this time?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think on behalf of the council, we would really like to know what is, the unaudited fund balance numbers for the city, at this time. We would like to know, since the controller says that there are no revenues for 2019 to 2020, if we can have a
This is what I'm talking
actual.
about, inexperience, Marcus
Can I
Griffith.
finish?
You know, the fund balance, didn't you just hear me say that
Madam
the city
Controller.
has not been audited? No, let me tell you, because you have to understand this. You should be aware of this stuff, but you're not. Listen to me.
Okay, go
And
ahead.
I've been talking about this for years now. This is not the first time I've been expressing this.
Thank
I've
you.
come to the council meetings expressing this to the council as well, and you were there. The city has not been audited since 2015. Our external auditors are now working.
Right.
They are here as well as our state auditors.
Okay,
Okay, we are trying to
Trying.
go through,
yeah,
not me, but them.
okay,
The orders I try to give internally weren't provided by the mayor's office. But what I'm saying to you is our external auditors are doing everything that they can to finish up 16. Now that now that the mayor provided them the Urban Renewal Agency's financials. They finally finished that for 2016. Now they're working within the city to try to finish the 16 city financials.
Right.
Our audit, they haven't done that. You are not going to know what the fund balance is. And to be, no, you're not listening to me. You're not listening. Just understand what I'm saying.
please.
You can't make this up.
Oh,
I know Maureen has in the past, Maureen Walker, the former controller, but you cannot just
The
put numbers.
CPA.
You can't put, well, that means nothing.
The certified public accountant.
She is all the GAAP rules, so it doesn't matter. You can think whatever you want, but anyway. How do you expect, Councilman Griffith, since you have so much to bring to the table today, how do you expect us to just come up with numbers? As a matter of fact, the mayor's departments are still bringing bills downstairs years.
unencumbered,
I actually
unencumbered,
got a bill that was 3 years late, coming down to my department from DPW the other day. They're months to years behind coming downstairs. How are you gonna make up those numbers? Mr. Griffith, Councilman, it's not going to happen. So like I said before, the external auditors have come to the council. They have advised you.
have they?
Yes, they have. You should have had your ears open. They advised you.
Okay,
They advised the city council. And when I was a council person, they advised us as well.
okay,
This city was recklessly spending for years. This is not the first time that the Patterson is doing it. It was previous. It's been previously done. Mount Vernon right now is not stable. We are not stable with our spending.
what's not stable?
We spent so much money.
What's not
The
stable?
mayor's department, you're not stable. The mayor's department has spent so much money in 2020 during COVID when there was no money coming in. That right now, everything's unbalanced. Right now, there has to be her furloughs because she created it. There has to be people laid off and all the things that she needs to do. She did this.
Okay,
This was not because of the comptroller's office. We're mitigating risk. We're checking the council with their defective legislation as well as the mayor's reckless spending. That's what the comptroller's office does.
that's what you do?
So what I'm saying to you,
That's your
Mr.
role?
Griffith, who brings forth defective legislation
Effective.
every piece of legislation we bring to the Board of Estimates contract, because you only
Every piece,
follow the mayor's rules.
okay.
You voted for the $30,000 to $50,000 raises and last year.
Oh, my goodness.
Didn't you?
Oh,
Tell the
did you
truth.
have big raises?
Did you not do that? So I'll go back to the fund balance again, because you're so adamant to want to know what's going on there.
Go,
And then you want me to teach you.
teach me, okay,
You're unteachable, but let me say this.
okay.
There is no audit since 2015 that's completed.
Okay, I think we've
You are
completed
not
that.
going to know
So-
what the fund balance is until the
Then-
auditors do their job. That's what they provide the city.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Controller Reynolds. So one of the things that Controller Reynolds, yes, so
Education, and
thank
need to
you.
know that. And
Thank
know
you.
Mayor Paxton
Thank you
Howard.
for the education.
You need to listen.
So Controller
Because if you
Reynolds
listen,
has
you wouldn't be
said
making the
over and
mistakes that
over,
you do.
Controller Reynolds has said over and
All I
over
can do
again
is advise,
that she is currently using the
can do is
reserves
advise.
of the city.
because you're
You have
spending it.
heard her
Because
saying
you're spending it.
she is using the
I don't
reserves.
spend the money,
So,
the mayor spends the
Controller
money on
Reynolds,
the bill.
obviously, if
I
you are
check it,
using,
And
okay,
then I cut a check for the ones that are
Thank you.
appropriate.
So,
I don't pay the
control-
illegal bills.
point of order, thank you. So I didn't interfere with you when you were
You
speaking.
did.
I
You
did not.
absolutely
So
did.
Controller Reynolds, I'm
You
asking you at
absolutely
this
did.
time, ma'am, that since you are utilizing the reserves of the
Stop
city,
spending. I sent you an email.
since you are,
months ago to
ma'am,
tell you to stop
ma'am,
spending and
can you
haven't.
please
So
be,
I don't want to hear your rhetoric, Mayor Patterson Howard.
so Comptroller,
Because I asked you.
since
I sent you an
Comptroller
email
Reynolds
and the
is
council and told you
utilizing
to
the
stop
reserves
spending.
of the
That's
city,
why we're using
that
reserves,
means
because
that
of
she
you.
knows what is
Employees
in the
have to get
reserves
paid.
of the city.
We
If
don't know,
Comptroller
but you're not
Reynolds is
listening. You
using
don't
the
know
reserves
finance.
of the city,
We have not been
then she
audited.
needs to know
If you
how
can
much is in the
comprehend what
bank.
I'm saying,
You
would
cannot
understand.
use
You are not an
reserves that
accountant,
you are
nor
not
is
aware
Marcus
of.
Griffith.
So
You
by
are
her
recklessly
own
spending taxpayer
admission,
money,
by
and
her
now, and you're
own,
pushing Mount Vernon further
by
into
her
bankruptcy.
own admission,
You
she
can
has
make up
just
whatever
stated
story you want,
that
Mayor
we
Patterson
have
Howard.
reserves.
No one's listening
She
to
is
your rhetoric.
stating that she is
No one's
currently
listening to your
utilizing the
rhetoric.
reserves. And so at this time,
Mr.
as the
Perry, I'm
mayor
talking. You need
and
to
on
finish
behalf of the
speaking
city
talking.
council, can we ask on behalf of the,
This is not a mayor
so on
show.
behalf of the office of the
This
mayor
is not a
and
mayor
on
show.
behalf of the
This is
office
the
of
Board
the
of Estimates.
city council and the city council as a
This is the Board of
whole,
Estimates,
we are
not
requesting
a mayor show.
that the comptroller who says that there are reserves
Mayor
that she
Patterson
is
Howard,
utilizing
You have take responsibility
will
for
make
your
public the amount
action
that
or
is in
inaction.
reserves. We are asking that Comptroller
You don't know what you're
Reynolds
talking
please
about.
make public.
You need to
See,
speak to the
sometimes
auditors.
when you
We
keep
have external
talking,
auditors, Mayor Patterson
when you
Howard, and
keep
need to
talking,
speak to them
you
because
tell the
they will
truth.
tell you the truth about
And
what
so
you
the
did.
truth that we've
When
just
you
heard
overspent
is that the
budget,
city
you
has
have-
reserves
You have done a
that the
terrible thing to the
comptroller is
taxpayers.
utilizing.
And now you're trying to
And
say
when you're trying
that
to
you're
cover
going
up your
to,
lies, you just incessantly
furlough
talk over.
or lay
So
off
at
or
this
whatever.
time, I am
So Mayor
finished.
Patterson Howard,
We
stop
have-
being
can we
disingenuous.
please-
You have abused the city. Taxpayers.
For
And
item
it's so
number
sad.
3. So the motion and the discussion is, we'd like to go to a vote to set the date for January 28th at 7 p.m. And we would like the comptroller to please share with the mayor's office and the
You
council
can't comprehend it,
what
Mayor
is
Patterson
in the
Howard.
reserves.
You have overspent
Thank
taxpayer
you.
money for
But
the year
there are
2020 with
reserves
your
that the
$30,000 to
comptroller
$50,000 raises
is
and your
using.
increases
Thank you.
and your
I'm sure the
malfeasance.
unions,
And you know
Mount
what?
Vernon
The people of
unions,
Mount Vernon are not going to be
unions,
happy with that.
456 PBA,
That's right. And
Local
you have not done a
107
bargaining
and
agreement yet. And
CSEA,
these people are
as you just
disenchanted with you, Mayor
heard,
Patterson Howard,
that the
because you've already
comptroller
spent a
says
year.
that there are reserves
You
in the
already spent
city,
a year
but she
without
will
making a
not
union bargain
release
with
the
them. The
information
fire, police, and
to the
DPW
mayor's
and CSEA,
office or
and
to
you
the
were out
city
of compliance,
council.
and
But the
also,
comptroller, who's
you
been the
violate
controller
charter-
in
the charter provisions
2018 and
continuously.
2019 and
So
2020,
you can say
has
whatever you
not
want, Mayor
provided the
Patterson
mayor
Howard.
and the city
You
council
have
with the
all the financial
information
statements, you
to
just
make
can't
a
read them.
collective
You have
bargaining
access
agreement.
online
So
view
can we
only for the bank
please,
accounts. You
for
can't
one bank
comprehend
account,
that. All
can we
you do
please
is
take a
spew
vote?
rhetoric, and people are tired of it.
Thank you.
People are tired of it.
Comptroller Reynolds, how say you on the motion to set a public hearing date for January 28th at 7 p.m. in the
7 p.m.
City
in the evening?
Council?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Council President Griffith?
Yes.
How say you, sir? And Mayor Patterson, how say you?
Yes.
Thank you.
I take a motion to adjourn, make a motion to adjourn.
Goodness.
You second it?
So
Roll
many lies in this
call.
room.
Controller Rowland?
Absolutely, yes.
Council President Griffith?
Yes.
And Mayor Patterson Howard?
Yes, the
Thank you.
meeting is adjourned and we are looking forward to receiving an accounting of the reserves
We're
that the
looking forward
comptroller
to the
is
mayor to
using.
stop recklessly
Have a good
spending
day.
taxpayer money.
We're
Look out for
done.
the budget, please come out to the hearing.